The Kansas City Chiefs are days away from opening their season in São Paulo, Brazil, and yet the roster's storylines keep shifting in ways that make this build-up even more dramatic. First and foremost, the latest update is about rookie wide receiver Jalen Royals, who, according to head coach Andy Reid, is unlikely to play in Week 1. Royals, drafted in the 4th round back in April, was one of the rookies fans were truly eager to see step on the field with Patrick Mahomes. There was genuine buzz around what he could add to the offense with his speed and physicality, especially in a year where the wide receiver room has been under the microscope. But Royals is recovering from a knee injury, and Reid explained on Friday that trying to get him fully ready for the Friday opener in Brazil would just be too much of a rush. It's one of those moments where you understand the cautious approach. You don't want to put a rookie's long-term career at risk just for one game, no matter how exciting that game might be. At the same time, the timing feels frustrating, because the Chiefs are already set to be without Rashee Rice, who will miss the first 6 games due to suspension under the NFL's personal conduct policy. Suddenly, what looked like a wide receiver room with a mix of upside and veteran presence now feels a little thinner going into one of the most high-profile season openers in recent memory. With Rice sidelined and Royals unlikely to suit up, the Chiefs will lean on the rest of their 53-man roster receivers: Xavier Worthy, the electrifying rookie with blazing speed; Juju Smith-Schuster, a familiar face making his return; Hollywood Brown, the explosive veteran who, if consistent, can be a dynamic threat; Tyquan Thornton, Nico Remigio, and Jason Brownlee, each fighting for snaps and opportunities to make a mark. Chiefs fans know Andy Reid has a history of squeezing production out of players that other teams overlook, and Patrick Mahomes has turned relatively unknown receivers into trusted contributors before. Still, this wideout group is going to be tested immediately, and the challenge is made even greater with the Chargers' defense across the field. It makes the game less about flash and more about resilience. Chiefs Kingdom wanted to see Royals debut on an international stage, but it seems we'll have to wait just a little longer, while the receiver situation has been the dominant talking point. The Chiefs weren't idle this week, making significant roster moves that tell us a lot about how the coaching staff and front office are preparing for Week 1. The headline among those moves was the signing of veteran tight end Robert Tonyan to the active roster. For many NFL fans, Tonyan's name rings bells from his years with the Green Bay Packers, most notably his breakout 2020 season when he caught 11 touchdowns. At 6'5" and 240 pounds, he's exactly the type of target that can give Patrick Mahomes another big reliable option, especially at a time when the receiving corps has some uncertainty. Tonyan's path back to relevance has been anything but easy. After suffering a torn ACL in 2021, he clawed his way back with a solid 2022, posting 470 yards and 2 touchdowns with Green Bay, before spending a year with the Chicago Bears, where he played all 17 games but was underutilized, finishing with just 11 catches for 112 yards. Last year, he bounced to the Vikings practice squad, appeared in 5 games, and didn't record a single catch. That might make it seem like his career was fading, but the Chiefs clearly saw something in him, signing him to their own practice squad late last season and watching him closely through camp and preseason. Now, thanks to Rice's suspension and the team's desire to load up on tight ends, Tonyan is on the 53-man roster, ready to contribute. The significance of this move cannot be understated. Kansas City now officially carries 4 tight ends: Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Matt Bushman, and Tonyan, and with Andy Reid's creative offensive mind that opens the door for multiple tight end sets, mismatches against linebackers, and red zone opportunities. Tonyan's arrival is less about replacing Rice directly and more about reshaping the offensive balance, giving Mahomes the kind of security blanket targets he thrives with. If Tonyan can channel even a fraction of his 2020 form, This could turn into one of those underrated mid-season storylines that pays off big, but that wasn't the only big move the Chiefs made. On Thursday, the team also brought back a familiar face, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Once the team's first-round pick in 2020, Clyde's career has been full of highs and lows. He came into the league with huge expectations, showed flashes of brilliance, and even played a role in 2 Super Bowl titles. But injuries, inconsistency, and the emergence of Isaiah Pacheco pushed him down the depth chart, and by the end of 2023, it looked like his time in Kansas City was over. He latched onto the Saints practice squad late last year, played in 2 games, and gained just 46 yards on 13 carries. It was the kind of stint that usually spells the end for a player's career, but this week the Saints released him, and within 48 hours, the Chiefs swooped back in. Now Edwards-Helaire is back, this time on the practice squad. It's not the glamorous role he once had, but it is a chance to prove himself again. He has nearly 2,700 career scrimmage yards and 19 touchdowns. That kind of production doesn't just disappear. If injuries hit, or if the Chiefs want to shuffle their backfield, Clyde might find himself back on the field in meaningful moments. For fans who always had a soft spot for him, this return feels like unfinished business. The Chiefs also strengthened their defensive line depth by signing 2 intriguing young defensive tackles, Zacch Pickens and Broderick Martin. Both were former third-round picks with plenty of upside, but struggled to find traction with their original teams. Pickens, drafted 64th overall by the Bears in 2023, played only 9 games over 2 seasons, registering 1 sack. Injuries slowed him down, including a groin issue last year, and the Bears waived him this week. Martin, meanwhile, was drafted by the Lions 96th overall in the same class, but never found his way onto the field consistently. At 6'5" and 326 pounds, he's a massive presence, but injuries kept him sidelined, and Detroit eventually moved on. Now both land in Kansas City, where Steve Spagnuolo has a history of rotating linemen and getting production out of overlooked players. With Derek Nottie reacquired in a trade and Mike Pennel released, the door is open for either Pickens or Martin to carve out a role, especially if injuries pile up in the trenches. For a defensive line that already has stars like Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, and Charles Omenihu, adding hungry young talent like Pickens and Martin could pay dividends later in the season. The practice squad shuffle didn't stop there. The Chiefs also added defensive end Ethan Downs and safety Jammie Robinson, while parting ways with defensive tackle Coziah Izzard and wide receiver Hal Presley. These are the kinds of moves that fly under the radar. But practice squad depth matters, particularly over a long season. The NFL now allows teams to carry 17 players on the practice squad, and the Chiefs even have an exemption for offensive lineman Chu Godric, who joined via the league's international player pathway program. For fans who follow every transaction, it's another reminder that the front office is constantly churning the bottom of the roster, looking for that one piece that might come in handy in December or January. And speaking of January, if the Chiefs want to be back playing deep into the playoffs, it will once again be anchored by the defense. That brings us back to Chris Jones, the leader of the unit, who enters his 11th NFL season with both a chip on his shoulder and a calm confidence that only comes from years of dominance. His sack totals dipped last year, down to 5.0 from the 15.5 he posted in 2022, but anyone who watches knows that numbers don't tell the whole story. Offensive coordinators scheme entire game plans around him, double teams, quick passes, constant attention. It all affects his stats, but his impact is undeniable. Jones himself brushed aside the criticism this week, saying, "It's not about me, it's about what we can do collectively as a team. We've been able to execute together over the years, and I believe that will continue." That's classic Jones, competitive, self-aware, and team first. His career stats speak for themselves: 310 tackles, 80.5 sacks, 13 forced fumbles, 37 pass deflections, 1 defensive touchdown, and the NFL record for most consecutive games, with a sack at 11. He's already a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a 6-time Pro Bowler, and yet he still talks like a man hungry to prove himself all over again. That's what fans love about him. He also pointed to the fact that the Chiefs led the league in sacks in 2022 and 2023, reminding everyone that this defense has already proven itself and is capable of doing it again. The preseason results, including a 29-27 loss to the Bears, the team's 6th straight exhibition defeat, don't bother him. The focus is on the regular season, Jones said. That's the encounter that matters and will set the tone. There's a sense among outsiders that the Chiefs' dynasty is nearing its end, but Jones laughed off that narrative too. The talk is always about our downfall, he said. I think there's an unhealthy obsession with us out there. I hate to break it to you. We're more motivated than ever to go hard again when the season starts. That sentiment was echoed in the ESPN documentary The Kingdom, where Jones was vocal about the criticism the team receives. It's become a norm now. We have become a new age patriots. People are tired of us winning. That's fine. We're not going anywhere. Those are the words fans want to hear, the kind of defiance that keeps the kingdom united. And so here we are, just days away from a season opener like no other, with the Kansas City Chiefs set to take on the Los Angeles Chargers in Sao Paulo. Brazil. Royals likely won't play. Rice is suspended. Tanyan is in. Clyde is back on the practice squad. The defensive line has fresh faces, and Chris Jones is once again setting the tone with his confidence. It's the perfect mixture of uncertainty and belief, the kind of storylines that define football in Kansas City. The opener is Friday, September 5th. The stage is set. Chiefs Kingdom will travel across continents, and the dynasty continues its march, one game at a time.